What's up everyone, and welcome back to more Reddit stories about Karens, crazy people, and all that kind of stuff. So as usual, let's get right into today's Reddit posts. Offered to pay for someone's groceries. Got called a bitch. So I'm not well off. I'm actually in a pretty rough place financially. But I finally managed to save enough to go grocery shopping today, for the first time in 2 months. I grabbed just what I needed and got in line, and overheard the woman ahead of me almost crying because she couldn't afford all her groceries. She was shopping like me, necessities, nothing extravagant. Based on what I overheard, she was only about $20 short, and I knew I was coming in a little under what I had budgeted. So I offered to pay the difference. She was so happy and thankful, but before I could swipe my card, she told me, "Hold on one second," and ran back into the store. I was confused and honestly guessed she was grabbing more, which made my stomach drop. Again, I'm not well off and could basically only cover what she was already trying to afford. Sure enough, she reappeared with an armful of items, necessities and non-necessities. I immediately apologized if there was a misunderstanding, but informed her I also didn't have that much, and could really only cover what she was originally buying. In 0 seconds flat, she went from kind and grateful to angry and irate, called me a bitch and said I got her hopes up. The switch up left me a little stunned for a moment, because what the hell? I then told her that was on her, and while I would still help with her original order, I was not buying her extra items. Take it or leave it. She told me, "F you." So I told her my offer was off and to have a nice day. I didn't want to wait in line while she figured her order out, so I just grabbed my stuff and went to another line. But for f***'s sake, I was just trying to be nice. But I feel like I handled the situation well enough. I just needed a vent. Just busting up a slave ring. I have a relative in an unnamed city who is in a group home. I've had endless troubles finding a good home for him. Often it is out of the frying pan into the fire when we change from one facility to another. But this one home was the worst I'd ever seen. I began to realize they weren't paying their employees. All the employees were foreign nationals. The owners would entice them to the US with promises of a job, pay them for a month or two, get them settled. These poor caregivers always lived in the group home with the residents. As soon as the shifty owners of this group home thought the workers had no place else to go, they started making excuses when it came time for paychecks. It started when the employers borrowed money from the employees, never to be paid back. Then the pay would be late or short. Eventually they'd be months behind on back pay, always with excuses. The employees were certain the boss was going to settle up on the back pay any minute. My relative wasn't getting all his prescribed medicines. There was a nice menu posted on the wall, but the food was always leftovers from the food bank. I pulled my relative from this pit as fast as I could. Numerous other violations occurred. I called the National Human Trafficking Hotline and notified the state regulators of these kinds of facilities. I gave testimony to some investigators, spoke with the Attorney General's office. For a while, it seemed nothing would happen. But today I received news that the 3 group homes owned by these scoundrels were raided, by the FBI no less. The unfortunate employees who were effectively enslaved there were taken to safe houses. The residents are safe. If the owners aren't incarcerated already, they are certainly in the hot seat. So yeah, this isn't petty revenge at all. It is real actual justice, probably with jail time. Boomer gets upset with me for not shaving my legs before going to the gym. This just happened about an hour ago. I shave every 3 to 4 days if I'm feeling like it. I like to wear shorts to the gym. I'm also a woman, so body hair bad/S. I went to the gym today in my usual shorts and t-shirt, except I haven't shaved my legs since last Thursday. I just haven't really felt like it. I've been working a lot and super tired, and I just want to take quick showers and go to sleep at the end of the day. Anyway, I'm busy doing my hip thrusts, and this boomer walks up to my machine to take plates off of it. Strike one, because literally every other machine is empty. As he bends down to grab a plate off the machine, he stops, and then leans forward to get a closer look at my legs, and laughs to himself while shaking his head. I ignore him and finish my set, and he points to my legs and says something like, "Forgot something, huh?" I say no and go on my phone because please leave me alone. He stays though and motions for me to take my AirPods out, so I take one out and say, "What?" in the nastiest voice I can muster because leave me alone. He then starts talking about how I must have been in a rush to forget to shave, and how I should have worn pants, because it's a bit rude and inappropriate to wear shorts without shaving my legs. He keeps talking, but I'm over it and my rest time is up, so I keep doing my hip thrusts while he stands there like an idiot. He leaves after a few seconds and goes to do some exercise 4 feet away, so he can keep glancing at me in the mirror and laughing at himself, making a huge spectacle over it. When I was done, I just left that area of the gym, but I kept seeing him in passing while I finished my workout, and he would laugh to himself every single time. Blocked my driveway? I live on a fairly large, around 4,800 acres ranch in Montana. I'm not a rancher, and I don't pretend to be, but I inherited the ranch and lease most of the land out to people who know what they're doing. Now, when I took possession of the property, I had the boundaries reviewed and marked by a surveyor. And with my trusty ATV, I verified that the fence was intact all around my property, and was marked no trespassing according to the law. Met my neighbors, tried to live quietly in the beauty I had. One day coming back from town, I found 3 cars blocking my driveway. My driveway is a private graded gravel road, about 1.25 miles long from my fenced marked gate on the public access road. Nobody around. And because of the way the road was built with drainage ditches on either side, no way to drive around them, and no way to drive past them. But I was about 3/4 of a mile from my house. I climbed up on my truck to see if I could see anyone around. No joy. Now I considered just chaining onto the vehicles and towing them with my truck, at least until I can get by. But I figured I better get some witnesses, so I called it into the sheriff's office. Fortunately, the deputy on duty on my side of the county was fairly close by, so he swung by in a half hour or so. "Hey doc," he said. "I'm an emergency physician in the local hospital and know most all of the emergency responders. Bob, how's Charlie? His teenage daughter, who I had seen a few months earlier in the emergency department, doing?" "She's back to normal, thanks," he said. "What's up?" I pointed to the vehicles. "I came back from town and found these cars parked here. I don't know who they are, can't get past them, and can't see anyone around here. I'd like to get past them to get to my house." "Well, I can ticket them and order them towed, but the nearest tow truck is probably 2 hours away. Why not just tow them yourself?" "That's what I was thinking of doing, but I wanted a witness." "Okay, doc, let me give you a hand." So we took some pictures of all of it and towed the cars out of the way, which caused some damage to the road surface. Gravel, right? The damage is what really annoyed me. I had just paid the bill to have the road graded and more gravel added, something that has to be done every year or so on such roads, but I was able to get by, which was the important thing. The next morning, the cars were still there, and the next morning, so the cars had been there 3 days now. They were still there. I'd had enough. I drove out to the cars with some wooden cribbing and a high lift jack, and jacked the cars up, put cribbing down, and left the cars there, wheels up in the air. It took 2 more days before anyone showed up. 8 people showed up angry because their cars had been essentially booted. They really didn't like it when I told them they owed me for parking and damage done to the road because they blocked it. "You know this is a private road, right?" I asked. "We didn't know. You had to pass a closed gate with signs to get onto this road. Then you blocked the road because you were too stupid to park like an adult, blocked emergency access to my home. I should have had your cars towed, which the sheriff told me I could do." They started threatening me, saying they'd call the police. Go for it. Turns out they were backpacking, and their phones had all died, so they wanted me to call the police. Fair enough. The deputy, Bob again, showed up, and since he already knew the situation, their claims didn't get far. This time I had Bob trespass them and escort them off my property. "They can wait for the tow truck on the public road," I said. "Also, Bob, I'd like to have their names, addresses, license numbers, and vehicle registration noted in your report for my lawsuit." "No problem, Doc." He took them to the public road, 3 trips, called the tow truck, which took 4 hours to arrive. $500 fee per vehicle to lower them. I got the cribbing back, and towed them off my property to the public road. They were still trespassed. About a month later, I received notice they were suing me. Fair enough. I counterclaimed them in the local court. They were from Denver, which is a drive away. My lawyer laughed at their claims, so did the judge, and they were very unhappy when he ordered them to pay for resurfacing the road, again, plus storage and punitives. They threatened to appeal. My lawyer explained they were welcome to do so, but the appeal would still be in Montana in the state Supreme Court. Montana doesn't have an intermediate appellate court, in Helena, in likely 3 years before it's scheduled, plus legal fees on their end, and their odds of losing were pretty high. Plus we'd be including more legal charges, plus charges for their camping on my land, damages, etc. I found at least one campsite where they left trash around, including an envelope with their name on it. It took a year, but I got the payment from the third hiker last week. I decided that the money will go to help pay for my annual summer barbecue for the county's emergency responders. 2 days of smoked brisket and the trimmings, games for the kids, swimming in my pool or my stream, and whatever. I do this every year since it's a small town. Small town living, so much better than the big city I originally came from. Neighbor tried to get my mom fined over our shed, so I got his $40K pool filled in. I live with my mom. She's quiet, keeps to herself, never bothers anyone. A few months ago, our new neighbor decided to report her to the city for having an illegal shed in the backyard. It was total BS. The shed's been there for years and has full permits. An inspector came out, checked everything, and left without saying a word. But the neighbor, smug, proud, thought he'd scared us. So I did a little digging. Turns out his brand new pool was way too close to the property line and illegally built over a utility easement. I reported him, attached photos, quoted city codes. 2 weeks later, the city ordered him to either move it, impossible, or fill it in. He lost the whole thing, $40,000 down the drain, literally. Now he gets to look at our completely legal shed every day, while standing over a pile of dirt where his pool used to be. Mom sleeps great now. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you for watching. As always, I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. So take care, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one.